Hello, and we want to thank you for watching the March edition of the Cannon County Chamber Connection. And of course, this is made possible by DTC, as always. I am Carolyn Motley, and I'm with the Chamber of Commerce in Woodbury. And this is Sue Conley, and she is my
partner in crime.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. And of course, she's with, well, she's on the board for the Chamber also. And we just want to say that probably you could be sitting in your house watching this because we either have ice or snow. Yesterday was nice, though.
Yesterday was very nice. It was lovely.
Yes, rainy, but nice.
Rainy. Yeah, it's okay. A little rain never hurt anybody.
Not, well, I don't know. I'm about fed up with it.
I'm not, yeah. So.
I am. And anyway, we're glad you could be with us. We have some interesting people today on the show that I guess in this, probably the latter part of last summer, I took a little trip up to Short Mountain Bible Camp, and I've decided that's probably the best kept secret in Cannon County. And we have two gentlemen here that are part of the Bible camp, which is at the very top of Short Mountain, and the views, I just can't describe to you how pretty they are. We have the caretaker, who is Jerry Nash, and Jerry, you live up there, right?
I do. I'm blessed to get to spend 365 days on the property.
Looking at all of that.
It is a beautiful place. It really is a well-kept secret, and we're hoping that secret is being given up more and more every year as our people are beginning to be more familiar and aware of our camp. We're thankful for it.
And we also have a gentleman by the name of John Nichols, and you serve on the Board of Trustees, right?
Yes, ma'am, I do. And I've been blessed to be a part of the camp since I was a little baby. I've been going to Short Mountain Bible Camp since I was a child. It's a very special place.
You know, a lot of people go to Short Mountain Bible Camp because you have camps all during the summer, right?
We do.
Different.
From the end of May through July, we have thousands of people on the mountain, and just hope to be a blessing to them.
And you have a great facility up there. There's horseback riding and views all around. I mean, anywhere you look, it's just gorgeous up there. I just can't tell you how pretty it was. And we went up there to do some filming, which we did. We spent 2 or 3 hours up there filming, and probably didn't get all that we needed to get because that's how much there is to see up there.
So tell me about a Bible camp. Is it for a specific religion? Is it?
The camp is open. We are supported by the Churches of Christ in our area and throughout the state, but we're open to any child that wishes to come. And we have 8 weeks of camp scheduled for 2015. And by the way, you were talking about 2014 and the many people who visited. Last year was our record year. We had just in the people that were on registered, over 1,500 people had visited the camp for just the weeks of camp. Now there's several thousand that come because of the retreats and the other activities, but the Churches of Christ do sponsor us, and we have in connection with 90 plus congregations that come and go.
Mostly in Tennessee or all over the United States?
All over the United States. We had several come in from up north. We had several from the south. We had one of my friends who visits each year, maybe one of our furthest ones. She is from out near Dallas, and so they may make one of the longest treks, but we do get them from Ohio. We won't leave those folks out. We won't leave those out from up in Michigan and so forth.
Okay. So is it a day camp? Is it spend the night camp? And,
it is a full week of camp, full being identified from Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock until Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Usually everybody's gone by then. And we have somewhere in the neighborhood of, our camp is conditioned to handle 290 boys and girls and men and women that work as our counselors and teachers for that week.
So what are the ages, Jerry, for that?
You can come to camp if you have a sibling at the age of 8, but it does officially begin at 9 through the ages of 18.
Okay.
How many people do you have on staff to take care of all of these?
Usually our
Children.
staff each week, I have a fixed staff which works on the grounds, our lifeguards, our horse professionals, our groundskeeping, and our kitchen staff and so forth. I have anywhere from 12 to 14 who work directly with me. But now John, he is one of the directors of the camp, when they arrive, they will have another 40 to 50 adults that help to take care and to look after and volunteer for that week of camp. And they'll be overseeing the children and basically the activities for that week.
So what kind of activities do you do?
Well, as far as the facilities, and then John can sort of give you a heads up on some of the engagements they have for the children in the spiritual side. But for the physical side, we have all kinds of trails, as you've already mentioned. We have horseback riding. We have all of the facilities are contained in cabins, and usually those cabins have anywhere from 20 to anywhere from 12 to 20 plus in each cabin. And they have outdoor activities such as softball, baseball, frisbee. We have a outdoor foosball court. We have a pool. We have a pond with fishing and kayaking and canoeing. And so much of the outside facilities, we have a gymnatorium that meets the needs of the different activities like you would experience in a regular gym, basketball, dodgeball, or whatever.
So mostly churches schedule their kids to come, or is it individuals sign up? How does that work?
That's usually how that works. Each week of camp is usually set aside, and what it does is it allows from the county. For example, John is representing Putnam County.
Okay.
Putnam County will gather their congregations from the Cookeville area and anyone else as far as that goes who wishes to come, and usually you'll have some friends that live out of state, as I mentioned, that'll want to come.
Okay.
And they'll gather that group together, which makes for a week of camp.
Okay.
So we have 8 weeks of that.
That you can accommodate 200 and some.
We do, and every camp is different size. For instance, our week maxes out. There are other weeks that are a little smaller, but I think I could speak for all the other directors when I say our goal is for the kids to have as much fun as possible, but also to learn about the Lord and to learn about the Bible. And so there's, the activities range from week to week, but our vision of the camp is to provide a safe place for kids to come and have a very formative, memorable experience every summer for at least a week.
People that come there that haven't been there before, do they have the same impression that I had? It was just breathtaking. It really was.
In fact, we have a lot of folks that come who have either heard about Short Mountain through friends and family, or maybe they just, heard in some other way. But we have weddings on the mountain. We have other activities. In fact, my wife and I were married at Short Mountain a couple of years ago. And so it is, I think, to a person, one of the most beautiful places that you could see as you look out from Jerry's back porch where the caretaker's house is.
That's where we were.
You can see downtown Nashville. You can on a very clear day.
Wow,
you can see the skyline from Nashville. So you just imagine the breathtaking views, and really the way the camp is situated. You have 360 degrees of that.
You do.
And it is a piece of earth that God really blessed.
Yeah, I agree with you. I had been up there before, but it had been many years since I had been there, and. Now, I will tell you, the trip up there is not for the faint of heart.
We have a one-lane road that goes to the top of the mountain But in the summer, Jerry's staff does a phenomenal job with everything they do, but they really do a good job about helping traffic so that the cars don't meet on that road. But once you're up there, it's beautiful for sure.
Yeah. So if you're headed up there, do you need to call and say, I'm at the bottom of the road?
That would be helpful. That would be helpful sometimes.
Open the gate.
Usually it's the larger trucks and so forth that we have that come in and out that provide our food and provide our, trash pickup and so forth. Those are the ones we kind of, make sure that they get on and off the mountain so that we don't have any interruptions.
Sure.
But it wouldn't be fair for us to talk completely about the camp unless we told about Miss Mary's Kitchen. Now we have a full staff kitchen that many of the volunteers that come and we have some pretty good eating on the mountain for our children too. So I know we have people say, well, do you take care of us when we get there as far as our meals? Well, we're pretty proud of our kitchen staff and the food that they bring us each week too. So we have to be. They won't go away hungry.
And it's set up for. It's typical for that. It's like if you were going to go camping, that was what you would probably, other than sitting around a campfire, this is what you would expect.
Yes. Usually a camper, when they come, they'll bring their sleeping bag, they'll bring a flashlight, they'll bring a couple of things that basically of their own personal stuff that makes them feel at home. But with our facilities, that's really all they need is that and a good personality and an excitement that we welcome.
Well, not everybody comes with that, so I'm sure you help them along.
Sometimes you might be surprised. I tell everybody it's interesting. I've been blessed for 10 years. I've worked with the camp. I started in September of '05, and I've got to witness several thousand children on and off the mountain. And I tell everybody that usually you can watch the children, and I can almost pick out the ones that are going to do what I'm fixing to say, but they'll be so shy. They'll be kind of be within themselves, but by Friday they're crying because they have to leave because they've made new friends. They've made a number of new friends, and many of those, as John said, they come back year after year. We've had more than one to announce on their Facebook page or go to the different sites that they have that they socialize and say, just 363 more days and we're back to camp.
So is this funded by, are you guys self-funded or do you take donations?
Well, we would love any donations that came in. It is a big operation.
It sounds like it.
If you look on the which is public record, the Board of Trustees revenue expense report it's quite large. If you imagine hosting hundreds or a little over 1,000 children for a week at a time, the food cost per week is extraordinary. We charge a fee for every camper. It's $150 for the week, and so they pay that fee, and that covers their experience at the camp. Now, individually, what all of the counties do that represent there on the mountain throughout the summer is they help fundraise and they do some things to provide some of the extra expenses that might incur.
The county directors, not the county government.
So I'm from Putnam County. I'm from the Cookeville area. And so we use Putnam County folks to fund Putnam County kids.
So there's scholarships available to kids who can't afford that.
We will never, ever, ever turn a kid down.
That's good.
Never, ever. In fact, in the history of the camp, we never turn a kid down.
Yeah.
And the board is adamant that if a child makes the need known, we'll take care of it.
That's good.
We have been in business for several years, since 1953. And I hope sometimes when I tell these stories that somebody doesn't say, well, Jerry, that's not exactly the way it is, but I try to tell what I've been told. And so in 1953, a group of young boys went to the top of Short Mountain in tents and held the first camp. And then it became a charter in either the fall of that year or the spring of 1954. And so since then, we have sort of been placed on the mountain, and it's had its ups and downs in the facilities. We've undergone some terrible storms. We've undergone a couple of tornadoes, and we've undergone some some financial bindings because of that. But like John said, we've never placed that upon a child where they couldn't attend, and we're pretty adamant about that.
Okay.
And so we do welcome the help, the assistance. We'll have different work groups that come in and donate time. We have the Boy Scouts each December come up, and they provide some 30 to 50 boys that donate their time along with their counselors and their leaders, and they'll do much of like cutting trees. They'll do much like clearing brush. They'll cut trails. They'll build, construct. We've even had a couple of things that have been built because of and I hope I get this right, for the scout to get his
Eagle Scout
promotion. And so we certainly welcome that. Some of them have been very close friends of mine, and I've come to know them. And just like in a week or so, in fact, on the 14th coming up, we have a group work service project coming up, and then later on the following week we have another group coming up from Cookville and one here from Woodbury that will be helping to bring up groups, and they clear or they work. And right now with the ice and the storms that we've undergone the last few weeks, there's always plenty to do. And so we welcome not only donations, we welcome if you got an equipment donation, something that's very usable, very good, that they feel that we can use. Just, for example, back a few years ago, someone donated us a bush hog, and it's beginning to wear. We've done several of that because that takes care of our fields and so forth for our horses. If you ask and would like to take a horse home for the winter, it helps our funding to take. We have we usually have from 12 to 15 horses, and someone will take the horse home and winter it and ride it and keep it in good shape, training and care for it, and then bring it back in May, and then we put it back into our horse program, and we have people during the summer to take care of that.
But you live up there year-round, right?
I do.
Are there times when you don't come off of that mountain for a while?
I tell everybody I have missed church services 2 times. Once it was in the, I think about 6 years ago, we had a 6-inch snow and no one else had any snow. And then this past week or so ago, I missed a Sunday morning, the first time I'd missed in a long time about not being able to get off the mountain. But we had so much ice, but many of it was trees that had fallen.
Right.
So the ice had torn the area up. Our road we're under the plea of many of our counties now trying to get us some help with our roads, but they do a good job of the camp road coming out to the camp. But it's that road going up that mountainside that can be a headache.
So to get to your camp, it's on Short Mountain Road, I'm assuming.
Yes, you'll turn off. We're at 650 Bible Camp Road.
Okay.
And that
in Cannon County.
In
You'll
Cannon
see
County,
a big sign
on Highway
that says-
146.
Okay. So I know the
Right.
roads in Cannon County are always clear and good, to be quite honest, since we've had to travel outside the...
The main roads are
Always good, yeah.
are pretty good shape.
Yeah.
And this past week, I have also been able to, like some of our areas, like Walmart, Tractor Supply, if they will and have at times gave us a real good discount on, for example, salt. I bought a ton of salt, packaged salt, and I salted our roads just by hand so that we could get the areas that were kind of treacherous. So all of these businesses we could not operate without the guidance of men like John and our good group of trustees, as well as the county has to support us and has to keep the good items that we need, and we are really taken care of in many instances by, and it would be fair for me not to mention, like Middle Tennessee Electric really takes care of us. John Barker and his crew is really good to us. The Woodbury Church and the area and the people, just the churches of Christ in general. Many of these people donate time and money and so forth, and many are just people who bring a saw and help me. And so I can't ever forget that it wouldn't be possible for us to carry on camp without such a great area. And we really do have a best kept secret, but that secret is getting more and more known.
Yeah.
I think if people have no idea, though, that maybe the ones that have been there before, But that's a great facility up there. I mean, it's got a lot of buildings. It's not just one little
Yeah.
thing. It's, you know, there's places where I guess that's they camp in there, right? In one big house.
We have plenty of facilities. We have a boys' village. We have a girls' village. We have a dining hall area. We have a craft house. We have like I said, we have a pool and a pool house. It's a big operation. Some have even identified the camp as a little city up on a hill, and it really is. We don't have a water system that's per se from the city. We have our own water system that we own and operate, and so it's an effort of being able to do this, 2,160 feet up. So we're pretty grateful for that as well.
But you welcome people to come up there, right?
They are. We have always, in fact, a lady just called me yesterday wanting to do some hiking. We welcome foot traffic on the property. All I ask is that you let me know you're there, just so that we'll have a record and no one's in the event that someone should get hurt. But of course, that's just our safety side. But you're at your own risk, but you're welcome to walk the property and enjoy the trails and so forth. And of course, during camp, we have more restrictions during camp. But during the off season and during retreats, we have areas that you can go and you can enjoy the place.
So when you talk about retreats, you have adult retreats there as well?
We have adult coupled with youth retreats, family retreats, and so forth. We usually handle anywhere from 40 to 100 on these retreats, and those facilities we have certain cabins that we open that are heat and air year-round cabins. And Miss Carolyn had asked me about some the weddings. I actually booked a wedding yesterday for a young lady here in the county. We have one scheduled this coming up in April, and we have one coming up in the end of the year, actually towards September, I think we have another one. And you can rent the place for a wedding. We've done it before, and that's based upon how much of the property you use, but we like to think that we want to outpour and outreach to the community just like they have poured into us.
Right. Well, I think that's great. I mean, people want an outdoor wedding. I can't think of a prettier place.
We're restricted to the weeks because a lot of people, we have retreats. People book year after year after year, just like the people who come. And like, for instance, John has booked a retreat this year, and he'll bring his group up, and they'll have X amount of different activities that they will do. And it's sort of like a mini camp almost.
Right. Now, your retreats are for adults mainly, right?
Well, we have retreats for everyone. My retreat that we will do on the weekend of Halloween, I think, we are bringing our teenagers from our local congregation up, but we also have retreats for families, and we have marriage retreats, and we have a variety of things. And really, that's just up to whoever wants to reserve them, and they can do whatever they want to with.
Right.
Well, for example,
I think that's great.
For example, we have a Woodbury Church of Christ Ladies' Day, and that's in September, the second week in September this year. And the Church of Christ of Woodbury will call in a special speaker, a guest speaker, and we'll have anywhere from 40 to 100 ladies and their daughters, and those ages range, and it'll be specifically cornered toward those women. And
very nice.
All I do that week is make sure they got what they need and stay out of the way. That's sort of how that goes.
That's a good answer there, a good answer. That's what that is. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about the Bible camp? I just, when I went up there, I was just so gotten away with, and I thought, I'm not going to forget this because I think this is here, and maybe it's not utilized, although it sounds like you stay pretty busy up there. When does your first camp start?
We actually have the first camp scheduled for May the 24th. Will be White County this year, and that starts on a Sunday. And usually we schedule camp to the school dismissal. So if they should, hopefully not, but if they should be a couple of days late with like snow days, then we may have to adjust that. But usually we've been blessed for the last 10 years not to have to do that yet. But we usually schedule that the year prior, and but that'll be May the 24th. Usually can be anywhere from the Sunday before Memorial Day or the next the next Sunday following.
Do you have cell phone reception up there?
Cell phone. We have limited cell phone access.
Okay. I just wondered because I thought anymore that's a must-have. If you're 8 years or older, it's a must-have to have that cell phone.
We have wireless
Just
internet,
wondered.
but we don't
Okay.
have great cellular service.
Okay.
But you ask anything to say, I think that it would only be fair to, again, thank the county, thank the state of Tennessee for making us a entity of being able to be tax exempt and to be, to be provided for and to have access to some of the benefits. But it all, we really do turn everything back into our resources of the kids. We do have several things that permits, we have insurance, we have liabilities, we have all these things that have to be met, but we do understand that our number one customer is our kids.
And so who owns is it like
It is under the foundation of the Adams Foundation overseeing.
Okay.
And they have been blessed to help us, and we're very grateful for them.
Sure.
And our Board of Trustees has sole, in control though.
Good. And then how many acres is it about?
We have 392 or 3 acres that we have been blessed with.
And certain places you can see all of them.
I bet. Well, I can't wait to go up and see it.
No, you really need to.
I do.
It's amazing.
Well, I go by that road every day. So,
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that, I'm sure when it snows up there, it's gorgeous. But I got there a little bit, the leaves hadn't started changing yet, and I thought, the fall has got to be gorgeous up here. It's just got to be, because you just see forever.
We just started a new Facebook page, and for those that would like to look at that, we're going to be putting on several things this year that will help others to see some of these scenes. I put some on just recently on my own Facebook site. They're welcome to go there and look at that. But I posted several pictures of the snow and the ice and the trees and so forth.
I bet it was beautiful.
It's pretty breathtaking at times.
Yeah.
But we welcome people to do that as well.
Yeah. That sounds.
You can go up there and take pictures. That's what we did.
I know.
Just took pictures. Well, I appreciate y'all
That's
being
very
here.
nice
Is
to
there anything
meet you
else you'd
and-
like to
thank
share
you.
with us?
We appreciate the opportunity to talk about our camp. We love it and would love any help that anybody could give us.
Yeah, I could tell that you guys are not.
You can, can't you? You can tell that they're really into
Yeah,
it.
really, that's right. That's
And
wonderful.
that's good, because
It
I
is.
think that's great. Of all the things that, I guess camping's not for everyone, but I think if they ever got up there and really got into all the different activities and everything, there's so many people that don't get the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if there is a child out there that would like to have help coming, call the camp and we'll take care of it.
And they don't have to be Church of Christ kids. They
No,
can be
they
whatever.
can be anyone.
Okay, good.
They can be anyone,
Good.
and we'll take them for sure.
Good. That's good to know. Well, thank you guys very much.
Well, I thank both of you for being with us. And Jerry, if there's ever another time that y'all need to come back, just give me a call
Okay, thank you.
and we'll.
You should do it at least once a year to tell everybody about
Well,
it.
yeah, because I mean,
I'm finding out more things about Cannon County. It has more wonderful, places, and it's just awesome.
It does.
I know, it's always
it really
amazing.
does, and you don't. I mean, I knew about the Bible
Well,
camp
I did
because it's
too,
been
but-
there forever, and like I say, it had been a long time since I'd been up there, and a lot of things had changed.
Yeah.
But I had forgotten how pretty it was up there.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of employees who live around here, who grew up here, and they talk about going there as kids and things like that. So it sticks with you.
It's not unusual for somebody to call me and say, I went to camp there 40 years ago, 50 years ago. When you've been in sort of
Yeah.
business for over 60 years, it does tend to to bring up some people that are on up in years.
Yeah.
Well, now, Jerry, in all due, I think it takes a special person to stay up there like you do and operate that. Now, really, I mean, you call it a blessing, and believe me, as pretty as it is up there, it is a blessing. But I also think that it takes a special kind of person that can go up there and live year-round.
Well, thank you, and it is really is a blessing, but a pleasure for me.
Okay, well, I'm glad you feel that way, because I'd hate for you to hate your job.
Well, you can tell he doesn't by just talking to him.
No,
so.
he doesn't. All right, gentlemen, we
Thank you
will
so
talk
much.
to you again, and
Thank you.
good luck this year.
Thank you so
and
much. It was very nice
I
to
hope
meet you.
that
Yes.
some
Thank you.
people
Nice to meet you, John. Nice to
Yes.
meet
see
you.
this and
We'd love to
call
have
you
one.
and take advantage of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, now we're back, and we have 2 more guests sitting at our table, and one of them is a renowned author on fermentation, Mr. Sandor Katz, but we're going to get to him in a little bit because we've also got Brittany that is with the Art Center, and she is the spokesperson for Everything Art Center. And she is going to talk to us about what we've got going on at the Art Center this month. We had some cancellations due to the weather this last.
Yeah, we lost a few Jungle Book shows due to
Yeah.
the snow, which was unfortunate. But we're keeping the jungle theme because we've got Tarzan that is opening on March 22nd, and that's the first show of our 2015 season. So we're really excited. It's Disney's Tarzan, so it's a great show for the whole family, and that's going to run March 22nd through April 4th. If you haven't gotten season tickets yet, you can save about 25% on each ticket for the whole season if you go ahead and purchase them. It's only $60, and that gets you your season ticket for the whole year for all the shows. So Tarzan will be included in that.
And I got my tickets last month.
exactly.
Yeah, I sure
Go ahead,
did.
reserve
Listen,
your
that's
days,
a
get your
great
spots.
gift.
It
It
is.
gives all year long.
Yeah, and it's a great, the price for
is.
those shows, you're saving a ticket for Tarzan for an adult is typically $15.
Yeah.
So with that season ticket, it makes it about $10 per show. So
And the shows are always great.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
Tarzan's going to be
Yeah.
awesome. All those fun songs that Phil Collins wrote for the movie. So that's again a great one for the family. Get all the kids. If you missed Jungle Book, and even if you saw Jungle Book, make sure you come out and see Tarzan
Right.
also.
Okay.
We also have a couple concerts on the books, and we're really doing a lot with our concert series this year. So we'll be adding new concerts all throughout the year. I'm working on a couple bookings right now. I can't tell you about yet, but I'm really excited about them because I think we're going to have a lot of really great artists.
Good.
But so far, for April, on April 18th, we have the Tennessee Mafia Jug Band, and they've been here before. They played to a sellout crowd. So if you think you want to get tickets to that, definitely go ahead and call us and reserve those tickets because they're going to go fast. And then on April 24th, we have Denny Lane and the Criers. Now, Denny Lane, if you don't know his name, you probably remember the band Wings from the 70s, Paul McCartney. So
Yeah.
Denny Lane was the main collaborator for Wings, along
Wow.
with Sir Paul McCartney. So he's
So
going to be
Paul
here.
might show up, you think?
I don't know. I'm not going to guarantee that because it would be a very pleasant surprise if he
It would
did.
be lovely, yes.
But Denny Lane's going to be here, and we're all really excited about that. And we are offering a special package deal with that one if you want to do a meet and greet, get a photo with him after the show, and sit in the front rows. For $25 a ticket, you can do that special meet and greet package. So
Good.
yeah, March and April are going to be some big months, and this whole year there's just a lot that's going on with the season, a lot that's going to happen with concerts and everything. So I'm really excited.
I know, that sounds
It's gonna
very
be a good
exciting.
year.
Yes, it is going to be a good year. And Jungle Book, the ones that did get, that you got to go see was big hits.
Oh yeah, everyone who saw the show loved
Oh my God, it was great. I saw it too, yeah.
Oh yeah, you saw it. It was so much fun. All the actors in it, the kids and the adults alike, they did a great job, and it was a real hit for the audiences.
Well, that's good. It is good. Also, some other things that the Art Center is great at is they're always moving things in and out of the hall, of this. We have the basket display that is set up in there, and of course, I believe that on the 27th or 28th, they had the White Oaks basket
Yep, on the 28th we had
demonstration.
that exhibit.
And the baskets are still set up. A lot of people come in, they want to look at them, they want to see them. Well, they're out here right now where you can see them. But they're getting ready to do a special display, and that's working with Cannon County Historical Society, and they're seeking framed vintage family photos of Cannon County families The images will go on display in the Cannon Hall at the Art Center April through October. So if you're interested in the family history of Cannon County, and there's a lot of people who are, and you have some photos, if you can just frame them and bring them in, and you can start doing that right now, bring them in and talk with either Rachel or Neil, and they will hang them as they come in.
And that's limited to only 60.
Right.
So only 60. So we'll take the first 60, and then after that, there won't be any more space. So anyone
And
that's
they have to
interested-
have a little write-up on them as far as for who's in the picture and
Right.
for what you know about
How
it.
old of pictures are you taking? Like when you say vintage, what does that mean exactly?
You know,
As
that
far
I'm not
back as you
sure.
can.
Okay.
All right. So, all right.
Probably through the decades. I don't know a ton of information about that exhibit, but Neil and Rachel are the ones coordinating it. And if you want to give us a call here, 563-2787, we can answer the questions
Yeah,
for you about
you sure
it.
can. And also, they're going to be doing a Susan DeMay and Donna Rizzo, is that her name?
Donna Rizzo, yes, ma'am.
Rizzo. And March 9th through April 30th, they're going to have their ceramic exhibits here, and these ladies are friends, and both of them are similar in what they do, so.
They do beautiful work.
Yeah, they do, and so their display is going to be up. And like I say, you never know what's going to be in here. You're going to be, you may come in one week and it's mirrors and wood and everything else, and you'll come in the next week and it'll be something completely different. So if you want to see either one of those, the Art Center is always open from 10 until 4 p.m. And you're welcome to come in and browse through the gift shop and look at all the different displays.
We do
that
have
we
one
have up.
special event for that DeMay and Rizzo show on March 14th. We're actually doing a gallery opening for that. So that's
Okay.
a good opportunity if you're interested in meeting the artists. It's free. It's from 5 to 7 that night. We'll have some food and drink, and you can come in, take a look at the exhibit, and meet the artists who should be here.
That'd be good.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That will. Thank you. Is
Thank
there
you.
anything else that you need to tell us about?
Not yet. There will be.
Okay, all right. You're going to keep us hanging there, aren't you? All right, my next guest is Sandor Katz, and of course, Sandor is world-renowned author in the art of fermentation. And he's going to do a little display today for us.
Demonstration.
Well, sure, yeah. So I mean, what I'd love to do first is, I don't know if it's possible for us to take a break and for me to spend 5 minutes prepping the vegetables, but I'd like to just sort of, talk about how I got interested in fermentation and
Okay.
a little bit about what fermentation is.
Can you chop and talk at the same time?
Not very well.
No, okay.
So that's why I was hoping we could just like break for 5 minutes. I could chop the veggies, and then we can sort of talk about fermentation, and I can show people how easy it is to make sauerkraut.
Very
Ooh,
good.
that's my favorite. I
Okay,
love
great.
sauerkraut.
Beautiful.
All right, so you've chopped up your vegetables now.
Yeah. So before we talk about this, let me just talk a little bit about fermentation more broadly and how I got interested in it, and then I'll just sort of describe this simple process for doing this.
Very good with me. We're fine with that.
So my name is Sandor Katz, and I live here in Cannon County, and I'm the author of a few different books about how to ferment foods and beverages. Wild Fermentation, the one at the far end, this was the sort of the booklet that I first wrote in 2001.
This is the condensed.
Then it turned into a full-length book, also called Wild Fermentation, in 2003, and then I wrote a much more thorough book that came out in 2012 called The Art of Fermentation. Everybody who is watching this, or almost everyone who might be watching this, eats and drinks products of fermentation every day. I mean, they're just such an important part of what we eat. Bread is fermented, cheese is fermented, cured meats are fermented, condiments all involve vinegar, which is fermented. Beer and wine are fermented, coffee is fermented, chocolate is fermented. So, a huge range of the foods and beverages that people really in every part of the world eat are products of fermentation. And what fermentation means is it's the transformative action of microorganisms. So these are all foods that in some way involve, yeast and or or bacteria and or other kinds of microorganisms, and that's, at least a part of how they are transformed. What we now understand is that all of the plants and all of the animal products that that make up our food are populated by microorganisms, and so microbial transformation of our food is pretty much inevitable. And we see this all the time with the food that we discard. I mean, rotten food is rotten because it's transformed by microorganisms. So when you clean out, the drawers or the back of your refrigerator, or your pantry, and you decide that food is too far gone, what you're really observing is the transformative action of microorganisms. And the fact that we all inevitably discard food gives us some insight into the inevitability of microbial transformation of our food. And in every part of the world, people thousands of years ago, before we knew about microorganisms, but learned how to work with this, invisible life force that's part of our food, so that rather than, it decomposing our food into nothing we'd ever want to eat, we can sort of harness this force and guide it in order to make our food more stable for long-term or short-term storage, in order to make it more digestible, in order to make it more delicious, as well as to produce, unique compounds like alcohol, like coffee, like chocolate. So fermentation is practiced in every part of the world, and in a climate like this with a limited growing season. I mean, now people in our time take for granted the idea that you can just go to the supermarket any time of the year and you can buy fruit and vegetables that aren't in season at all. But when you talk to the old timers around here, part of everybody's subsistence farming experience was making sauerkraut, because this was a strategy for taking, vegetables, that are ready in the fall and preserving them so that they can feed people through, the winter and early spring when there's no fresh vegetables to eat. So, this is a strategy for, having vegetables to eat through the winter, just as cheese is a strategy for having milk, in the seasons of less milk, and just as, salami and ham are strategies for, feeding a family for months from the slaughter of a single pig. So prior to the availability of refrigerators and freezers, people really, depended upon techniques like this. And, most households on planet Earth, even in 2015, do not have a refrigerator. And so, people in many parts of the world continue to be, very reliant on, traditional techniques like this for preservation. Because we've all been raised with this idea that bacteria are so, dangerous and scary and, primarily associated with, disease and danger. Many people have projected fear upon fermentation when, in fact, it's a strategy for food safety as much as anything else. With something like fermented vegetables, there has not, this is according to the USDA, there has never been a single case of food poisoning or illness stemming from fermented vegetables. And there's not very many foods that have, quite that kind of a safety record. So what I want to do is just, quickly show people how simple it is to make sauerkraut. And, sauerkraut's a German word. We don't actually have an English word for it, but it's a food that's found, all across the northern tier of Europe and Asia. It's believed to have originally come from China and moved across into Europe. But nobody really knows because it is so ancient, and immigrants from lots of different parts of Europe and Asia sort of brought their traditions with them. And so in the United States, sauerkraut and its Korean cousin kimchi, are found in lots of different places and coming out of lots of different immigration traditions. We might think of sauerkraut as just being made from cabbage, but really you can incorporate any kind of vegetables that you want. In this example, we have some carrots that I've shredded, and also some onion. and that's, just what I happen to have around. But turnips ferment really beautifully. Any kind of a root vegetable does. Any variety of cabbage. In the summertime, I even use summer vegetables. I won't make it quite like kraut, but in a saltwater brine, I'll ferment, let's say, okra and string beans and sweet peppers. It's a very, very versatile process. But the condition, what makes the lactic acid bacteria that make it sour flourish rather than molds or other kinds of organisms that would decompose the food, is a matter of creating the right environment. So, if we had a quarter of a cabbage like this left over from, let's say making some coleslaw, and we were thinking we were going to get back to make something else with it tomorrow, but we forget about it, and there's no room in our refrigerator to keep it, and we just leave it on our counter, let's say we forget about it, it's not going to turn itself into sauerkraut. What's going to happen, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who's had an experience like this, is molds are going to start to grow on the surface of it. And, in hot summer weather here, if you left it long enough at this time of year, those molds could literally decompose a head of cabbage into a little puddle of slime that bears no resemblance to delicious, tangy, crunchy sauerkraut. So the difference is that the molds need air. So the strategy for making sauerkraut is to get the vegetables submerged under liquid to protect them from air. And we could just add water, but we're going to get much better flavor if we can somehow pull the water out of the vegetables, because vegetables are really watery, and get the vegetables submerged under their own juices. So that's one of the reasons why we create surface area, is to try to pull the water out of the vegetables. And so surface area is what we've created just by shredding the vegetables. I just, cut up the cabbage, grated the carrots, chopped up the onion, and sprinkled a little bit of salt on. I am not highly technical or scientific about this. There's no need to measure salt like any other recipe in The Joy of Cooking, which, by the way, is where I first learned how to make sauerkraut. You can salt it to taste. So I recommend, as you shred the vegetables, lightly salt them, and then you can always add more salt. It's much easier to add salt than it is to subtract salt. So I just sprinkled a little bit of salt as the vegetables were being shredded, and the salt starts pulling juice out of the vegetables through a process called osmosis.
It smells really good.
Someday we'll have television technology where we can smell and even taste things. But for now, they can just see and hear us talk about it. But it does smell good and it feels good. And what I'm doing right now is, I'm squeezing the vegetables.
I see that.
Well, the old timers who told me about the big family production of filling up a barrel in the cellar, they weren't doing it like this. They had some sort of a big tamping tool for smashing down on it in the barrel. Or, a story that I've heard over and over again, mostly from, people from Eastern Europe who are older than me, is they remember as children having their feet scrubbed and being put inside the barrel to jump up and down on the vegetables. But whether
I think you got that confused with wine now, Sandra. I do.
And Lucy.
It's a very similar process. But what we're trying to do is really just bruise the vegetables and break down some cell walls and get the juice out of the vegetables. And you can see that that's beginning to happen.
Yeah, it is.
As I do this for about 5 minutes, at a certain point, you can start to pick up a handful of it. And then when you squeeze, let's see if we're there yet. I kind of have a feeling that we're not there, but when you squeeze, you get a little, it's like a wet sponge. Okay, it's not quite there yet, a few drops, but I'm gonna just keep on doing this for about 5 minutes. While we talk about some other aspects of fermentation. So, when I've talked to people who grew up, in agricultural families around here, this was just sort of part of what people, did, in order to feed themselves through the winter, and this was just part of, how the food that people were growing was actually made useful for them or enabled them to feed themselves through the year. And fermentation, always has, some sort of a practical benefit like that for people. And looking at the broad range of fermented foods that I mentioned earlier, like these foods have always been popular. I mean, they've, bread, cheese, cured meats, coffee, chocolate, wine, beer, they're not suddenly popular. But, what sort of shifted is that, after decades of people, not being particularly interested in this process of fermentation and, old-timers practicing it, but fewer and fewer of their children and grandchildren learning it, there's suddenly a renewed interest in fermentation. And so, that sort of leads to the question of like, why? Why is there suddenly a new interest in fermentation? Why are people interested in reading my books about fermentation? Why are people traveling from, all over North America and beyond to come and take classes with me here in Cannon County? And I mean, I would say that there's two reasons why people are newly interested in fermentation. One just has to do with an interest in food in general. After a couple of generations of people being thrilled to just do one-stop shopping and buy convenience foods, people are realizing, well, something's been lost. The food that's available through that system is maybe in some ways nutritionally diminished. Maybe the methods of agriculture that enable them to be grown are environmentally destructive. Maybe removing food production from our communities has been economically damaging. But people are just getting interested in food and where did our food come from? How was it produced? How can I have a hand in producing it? So I think that's one reason why people are getting interested in fermentation, because once you start asking those kinds of questions about food, fermentation is just part of the answer of how food is produced. The other reason people are getting interested is people are getting interested in bacteria. After thinking that bacteria are our mortal enemies, people are realizing we need bacteria to be healthy. The cells of our bodies are outnumbered by bacteria. They're our immune system, they're our digestive system, they're tied into our mental health, our liver health, every aspect of our functioning. And so people are getting interested in probiotics and how to restore and diversify gut bacteria. And, these kinds of live culture foods, fermented foods that haven't been cooked after their fermentation, are full of beneficial bacteria that help to rebuild biodiversity. So anyway, now you can see that the veggies have gotten much juicier. From just a few more minutes of squeezing, and now when I pick up a handful of them and squeeze, it's a little bit like a sponge, and just juice is coming out. So then we know that when we fill the jar with the vegetables, we can get them submerged under their own juices. So I'm just filling the jar with this, and then I'll press down, and the vegetables will become submerged under their juices. And that's the environment we're trying to create. And then these will ferment. I'll just leave them right on my kitchen counter at ambient temperatures. If I was going to ferment it for months, I might try to put it in an unheated cellar. But it all depends. Not everyone has one of those. How much time? There's no straightforward answer to that. I mean, the old timers would make it in November, and they'd start eating it within a couple of weeks, but then they'd keep eating it all winter, and by say April, when they start having some fresh vegetables again, it's been going for 5 or 6 months. And so you can ferment it for that long if you like, but also some people prefer more mild flavors. And they're not necessarily, doing this so much for survival through a long winter as they're doing it to, have good vegetables to eat, to get some of the beneficial bacteria out of there. So can you see that as I'm pressing down, the juice is coming up. So that's really what we're after. So I'm just going to do this on the kitchen table. What I have to do is, give it 3 or 4 days, and then taste it. And then just keep on tasting it. I like it as it gets more and more sour, but I've learned that, not everybody likes very sour flavors. Some people prefer it milder. If it ever gets to a point, whether that's at 3 or 4 days or at a week or 2 weeks, where you don't want it to get any more sour, you don't want any more acids to be produced by the lactic acid bacteria, then you simply move it into the refrigerator, the fermentation slowing device that in all likelihood you have in your kitchen.
So it doesn't matter if you open the jar to taste waste it at all?
No,
Okay.
it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. And you really, if you leave it on the counter for more than a few days, you kind of need to open the jar because
It expands.
what happens is that it produces carbon dioxide. That's part of this like life process that's happening in here is carbon dioxide production. And so you need to release the pressure if it's a tight closing lid. So that's really the whole thing. A quart-sized jar like this will take about 2 pounds of vegetables to fill. A gallon would take about 8 pounds of vegetables. At home, I actually have a 55-gallon wooden barrel from the Jack Daniel's distillery that's still about a third full of vegetables, and that takes maybe 500 pounds of vegetables to fill. So this is how simple the process is, and this is just one thing you can ferment. I mean, there's no food that cannot be fermented.
And you don't put any vinegar in?
No vinegar, no, it's lactic acid. Vinegar is acetic acid.
Okay.
But what makes sauerkraut sour is lactic acid just produced from carbohydrates that are part of the vegetables. The carbohydrates are in all vegetables.
That's kind of pretty,
The
too.
bacteria are in all vegetables. Yeah, I mean, if you mix different kinds of vegetables together, you get really nice flavors. If you put a little red cabbage in there, it'll turn hot pink. The colors will all,
Meld.
yeah, exactly. So that's a little taste of, well, I wish it was a little taste, but that's a little glimpse of
Well, Sandra,
of what I do.
you've been fun to have on you. I think this is the first time we've had a cooking
demonstration.
demonstration. I really do.
So where do you offer your classes?
I've got a space in basically an old log cabin, an 1820s log cabin that's up on Short Mountain that I have converted into like a classroom, like a kitchen classroom teaching space. So just a few times a year I run workshops. The next one is in mid-April for a week. The last one was in end of October, beginning of November for about 11 days.
So for a week, you mean people who attend every day?
People come and either they camp out right on site or they stay here in Woodbury at the hotel, unless sometimes it's local people who will commute each day.
Sure.
Last year I had a guy from Reedyville come, but the bulk of the people are coming from out of town, and either they're just camping out right on site and we're all eating together, or if they need their creature comforts, then they're commuting from Woodbury.
So it's an all-day event?
Yeah, sure.
So like a whole week worth of classes?
I mean, I also do shorter things. Let's see, last summer at the farmers market in Smithville, a couple years ago at the library here in Woodbury. I sometimes do shorter, just like 2-hour classes where, I do a little demonstration and answer people's questions. But most of the workshops that I do here are more in depth, and there's a huge amount of interest. I mean, in the one that I have coming up, I mean, we have space for 10 people, and more than 30 people applied and wanted to come.
Wow.
So there's a real hunger for for this kind of information, because it's just such, it's also easy and straightforward really, but these are things that everybody learned from their mothers and grandmothers until a couple generations ago, and now there's been a sort of a severing of the strands of continuity of learning about it. And I decided to learn it because when I moved down here, I grew up in New York City. The first year that I had a garden, it was a surprise to me that all the cabbage was ready at the same time. I don't know what I was thinking, but I just wasn't thinking about it. And so when I had a dozen heads of cabbage all at the same time, I was like, I better learn how to make sauerkraut. And then, one thing led to another.
Oh, that's so funny. Because I grew up in New York as well, and when we moved we moved to California, I'd never seen oranges on trees or anything like that, and I thought I had a lemon tree, and one of them was green and one was yellow. I said, "Oh, a lemon and lime tree." I didn't know, because you just don't. If you don't know, if you haven't grown up with it, you don't.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. That's very cool.
I am out of time.
Okay.
And so we're going to have to call this. You need to come back.
You do.
All right.
Sandor.
Do you have a website?
I do, wildfermentation.com.
Okay.
And if you want his books, they're available at the Art Center. He has 3 of them right here. And you can come down there and they'll show you how to ferment just about everything in your house. So that'll work.
That works.
And we're out of time for this
We are. Don't
month.
forget to change your clocks. Well, it'll be over. The clock change will be over by the time we're aired, right?
Oh, yeah, because it's the 8th. It's the 8th
Yeah,
of March.
it is.
And you spring forward.
That's right.
That's this weekend.
That's this weekend.
Okay.
Beware the 8th
See,
of
there
March.
you learned something while you was on here. We will see you next month. Thank you for watching.
Goodbye.